Morning. Happy Thursday to everybody. It almost feels like a Monday. Back to work. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. Our word of the day is Succor. Succor. Give assistance or aid to, assistance and support in times of hardship and distress. The country frequently offered succor to its allies in times of conflict. So that's our word of the day. And let us go over to the S&P 500 map here. We do have a strong pullback in certain technology areas. NVIDIA is down. Broadcom, a lot of the semiconductors are really falling. Microsoft, Apple, and a few other areas. Energy is kind of bouncing. Financials are bouncing. So this is kind of where people are repositioning their money as they have to stay invested. So that is a look at that map. If you think everything could fall and you spent a lifetime building up your wealth, this is a place you might want to put it. You can still be part of the market when it goes up, but when it goes down, you stay at the very same level. You don't want to turn your 401k into a 201k like happened in 2008. Country has a big recession every 6 to 10 years. We haven't had one strong one since 2008. So you might want to think about this. Beats index investing by about 5% per year. Right now, any new money coming in, there are bonuses anywhere from 25 to 45%. So that is that. Let us go over and take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we had a strong feeling it was going to pull back to 64,000, got to 64,100. It's just been kind of bouncing here. The high interest rates are holding it back from moving any higher, kind of feel. So we'll just continue watching this. There has been some buying, I believe. MicroStrategy bought $700 million of Bitcoin, and there were some other big purchases. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Let's go to, this is semiconductors. At some point, they will sell off, and that point is today. So let us continue moving on. Take a look at the dollar. Dollar is gapping up. So that's putting a little pressure on the small cap issues. It's up 0.38%. Looking at silver. Interesting, silver is gapping up when the dollar is going up. Look at that move. About 4%. We thought it might pull back to the 50-day. It did, and it has bounced pretty strong after that. We even thought it might have come back to these gaps that they got down here, down to 23, 22.98, somewhere in that area. So that is the story with silver. Gold is bouncing as well off of its 20-day moving average. And take a look at copper. Copper index. Wow, look at that nice gap up there. Mining in Canada, copper mining is gapping up. Take a look at a few of the other copper mining stocks. Got a gap up in Southern Copper. Rio hasn't been doing too much. Gapping up today. FCX gapping up and near its high, up 3.5%. Tech mining company trying to move up, hit its declining 10-day and turn tail. So that is that. Let's take a look at our bond issues. Bond yields moved up slightly and then pulled back up nearly 1%, 0.88%, 4.25% yield. Let's move on to the 20-year. Try to move up, turn tail at its, I believe that is 20-day moving average. Let's look at volatility or VIX index. Wow, look at that move. That is quite a move. 1338. I think it kind of must have hit our target. Target was right around this moving average, so we'll see if it moves higher. S&P must be turning today. Big drop along with the semiconductors, down 0.41%. The equal weight in the S&P actually is holding up pretty good. That's a good sign. The market is kind of broadening out. The NASDAQ, I would think, would be falling as well, falling about 1%, a little further than S&P 500. And the equal weight is falling as well. Tried to move into this breakout zone and then pulling back. IWM. It's falling as well, comes up to its 50-day moving average, turns tail with the move in the bond yields. And the Dow Jones is actually moving up. Look at that. This has been a laggard and it is clearly breaking out today. I draw the line is, there we go. You can see it's clearly breaking out. So let's go to our news. News of the day. Bull bear spread in American Association of Individual Investors was 21.9 versus 18.9 last week. Bulls fall to 44.4. Neutrals rise to 33.1 from 29.7. And bears fall to 22.5 from 25.7. Swiss National Bank cut interest rates for the second time in a row, cutting its interest rate by 25 basis points. Brazil's central bank paused its easing cycle Wednesday, keeping its Selic benchmark interest rate at 10.5%. Norway's central bank held its policy interest rate at a 16-year high at 4.5% on Thursday. Foreclosure filings are rising in Texas and Florida as property values and insurance costs increase. So let's go to our consumer stock news. AutoZone authorizes repurchase of additional $1.5 billion of common stock. Let us move over here, take rid of the Dow here. AutoZone is gapping up above 3,000. So that is moving their stock. KB Homes, Q2 EPS $2.15 versus estimates of $1.80, although revenues fell 3.1% year over year. Tried to move into the breakout zone and is pulling back a little bit at the moment. Steelcase. Q1 adjusted EPS 16 cents versus 10 cents. On to energy. Wow, quite a dive. Tried to move higher and they're diving further. Energy, industrials, and materials. Let's see if SMA solar technology is not going to come up. But it says it expects sales between 1.5 and 1.7 million euros. Spirit Aerosystems downgraded to hold from buy at benchmark, and they are moving up on that news. So they are bouncing off of their 10-day moving average, getting above the 50-day. So interesting. Downgraded and they move up. Virgin Galactic announces new research flight contract with a repeat customer, and they are down almost 12% today. On to financials. Bernstein expects Bitcoin to hit $200,000 by 2025, 1 million by 2033. Bernstein remains convinced in our Bitcoin new cycle thesis and moved up the firm's Bitcoin price forecast for 2025 to 200,000, reflect the positive surprise from Bitcoin's ETF flows since the launch, although they have been flowing out of Bitcoin. As you can see, this is one of the ETFs been flowing out of Bitcoin in the last while here. So on to Tree. Lending Tree announces the promotion of Jason Bengo, the CFO, following the departure of Trent Ziegler on August 9th, and raises Q2 revenue view above previous guidance of 175 to 190. Tried to move higher, but turned tail. On to healthcare. Cara Therapeutics said on June 14th, the board approved a streamlined operating plan, exploring strategic alternatives, focusing on maximizing shareholder value. So approved the company's reduction in company's workforce by approximately 70%. Wow, this is definitely a penny stock. And on to Dexcom. Dexcom will showcase its focus on Dexcom CGM use among people with type 2 diabetes, and will launch Omnipod 5 with Dexcom G7 at the 84th Scientific Sessions. Their stock remains pretty flat for the day. Insulet announced Omnipod 5 compatible with both Dexcom 6 and Abbott Freestyle. Their stock is bouncing off of their 20-day moving average right here, up a little over 2%. BTC Therapeutics, oh, missed one letter. It is diving. Shared interim results on phase 2 Pivot HD study. So that is the story there. Onto technology, media, and telecom. Hewlett Packard, $14 billion acquisition of Juniper Networks would hurt competition, says the United Kingdom. Will solicit comments from the public until July 3rd. So Hewlett Packard is kind of diving on that news. You could have taken a profit as it got into the profit zone on the breakout. Accenture, ACN, Q3 adjusted EPS $3.13 versus $3.15. You would think it would be diving because of that miss, but they are rising. So must have been on some forward-looking information. They're up nearly 8% today. Billy was upgraded to overweight from neutral at JP Morgan with a $21 price target, jumped up over 5%. Dell and Supermicro shares rise after AI startup xAI's founder Elon Musk says SMCI and Dell are supplying server racks for the company's supercomputer. Dell initially went up and then pulled back. Super microcomputer did the same. I believe the algos and the computerized trading sold off. So they had been moving up. We'll just have to continue to see how they handle this moving forward. On semiconductor, announced plans to establish a vertical integrated silicon carbide or SiC manufacturing facility in the Czech Republic for up to $2 billion. They are diving 4.5%. And Trump Media and Telecom, or Technology, I should say, announced that on June 18th, the SEC has declared effective the company's registration statement on Form S-1 related to the resale by certain security holders of certain shares and warrants. And Trump Media and Technology continues diving. So that is the story. There's no bottom in that yet. So let's go and see the tape, see what is moving up on this. somewhat down day on the market. Filed this last week, NRIX. We bought some of this and is in the profit zone now, up another 12% today. Harrow, big gap up here today, big volume, up 13%. And Atracure is a big mover on Tuesday, and it continues its move. It's up another 12% today. So see what's up, 5% on a 100% increase in volume. Looks like we got 15 items. Harrow, NRIX, Billy, Costamare. So those were the items that we already looked at. Costamare, Greek provider of international marine transportation, 71 container ships, moving up a little over 5%, pretty good volume. Mirum Pharmaceuticals, big move up, pulled back on Tuesday, and it is gaining a good share of that back today. Lenovo Group, you got a gap up here and now a huge gap up today, up 7.75%. Bread Financial, transaction credit marketing services to 600 consumer-based businesses worldwide, is up 8.4%. Pretty good volume here as well. We've got a huge cup with handle formation. It formed over here, broke out, pulled back, came back up, pulled back to the 50-day moving average, got support, and now it is breaking out again. Alarm Technologies, got some pretty good volume up here, increase of 10.67 on its stock price, 173% increase in volume. iRhythm, kind of base do we got here? It looks like we got a double bottom, spread out, pulled back. Doesn't really show it here, but this is definitely another double bottom. It's a long way to go to get to the middle of the W, but it is breaking out. Pretty good volume 2 days in a row. Gilead, seems like a lot of biotech are starting to get the flow of money. Is up 8.33%. We looked at it Accenture before. XOMA, we looked at last week. Look at, moved up here, had a strong pullback, and now we got a strong bounce on its earnings. Earnings declined 2%. I guess people were expecting much worse. Here's Atracure, looked at earlier. Globant, looks like maybe working on a bottom base here, up 8.34%, some pretty good volume. We've got Praxis Precision Medicine, up 7%, some pretty good volume here. So we had 15, and I believe that's 14. Let's see if we got any more coming up. So that was number 15. So there we have it. So what did we do today? We sold some NVIDIA. Sold it at 138. It's pulling back. We'll see how long that pullback is. It may buy back. If it pulls back, we're satisfied, or we may wait for a bounce. So that is it on NVIDIA. MicroStrategy. We did buy some in MicroStrategy today. We bought some at 1450 and 1470. So it's down about 1% today. MicroStrategy bought 700 million more Bitcoin recently with their notes offering. So we got a big cup with handle here forming. Just have to wait and see what the move on Bitcoin will be. The one that I really like right now is Dutch Brothers. Had a pretty strong pullback with the move in interest rates on the bond issues. Not doing too bad here, pulled under the 10-day moving average. Take a look at some of our aeronautics. Got a little bit of a pullback in aviation, down 1.62%. FDAI, bigger pullback in AVA. Dive to the 20-day moving average. You're pulled in here to the profit. So we'll just have to see where this is any. But that was a pretty big sale right over here. And lower. Pull back to the close to the 20-day moving average again, and now is bouncing. Staying right around 58.78. NetApp got into the profit zone and is pulling back a little bit, down 0.78%. Elf Beauty holding pretty steady right into the buy zone here. Pull back in the morning, got a little bit of a bounce. Papa Mediterranean Grill pulling back to, we actually did get our sell. We sold 10 covered calls at 100. So we got that in perfect timing, and it pulls back. So that is a story. Papa. We did something similar on Tuesday with Apple. Another family account. We sold right up here. I believe it was 230. We sold at 13 covered calls. Apple. Meta got a price increase today. Meta is up slightly on that news. They've priced it at 540. So we'll just have to see if this becomes a cup with a handle and is able to break out. Netflix is pulling back a little bit here with the market. Look at all the FANG. Tesla is pulling back. Microsoft pull back and it's trying to bounce here. Google is holding up pretty well. Sure that we didn't miss any in our list here. Look at four bouncing off the 20-day moving average, even though the bond yields bounced a little bit. That's a pretty good sign. I think this is a cup with a handle forming here. Has a long-term price target of 88. Got hit a little bit in arm today. On the pullback, we'll see if this becomes a cup with a handle. Since it just broke out on a cup formation. Crowd, we're kind of waiting to fill our one option contract at 320. We looked at Kava, Elf, ARM, MicroStrategy, Lore, CrowdStrike, Dutch Brothers, AVAV, NetApp, NVIDIA. The only one we didn't look at was Apollo. It's actually bouncing, so maybe got a little rotation in money management. Let's just take a look at our indexes under the S&P 500. Financials getting a little bit of a bounce. Fargo tried to move and is pulling back. JP Morgan is definitely bouncing. Goldman Sachs is bouncing as well. So maybe this is where some of the money is moving. We saw energy looking pretty good. Look at that huge bounce on energy. Nice move in oil prices. We have a position in Weatherford. Moved up a little bit. Not too much, about 0.7%. Tidewater tried to move higher and is pulling back. So the ExxonMobil, they got a big move. So that is where that is moving. Communication, or Meta and Google are, and AT&T. Got a nice little move into the buy zone here. Utilities. Got a little bit of a bounce in utilities. So maybe that's where they're moving as well. It's interesting, utilities and oil, they seem to be bouncing at the same time, and they usually are not correlated that way, but watching them. Too many symbols there. We'll pull back in real estate. We can see semiconductors are kind of diving. Infrastructure is turntail. I think it was Granite. Was the one that was moving a couple of days ago. Sold off, bounced back, and then is pulling back right in the middle. Airlines are pulling back. Nice bounce there in travel. People are Viking. Pulled back. We got a little bit of a bounce. This is a recent IPO. This one kind of really sold off and is bouncing. Where this one goes, getting kind of long in the tooth for an IPO base, but I'll keep watching that one. GE got a little bit of a bounce. Home builders pulling back. Building materials try to move up and they pull back. Definitely got a bounce here. Found this one last night. And this one got a little bit of a bounce, 3.5%. So Fang U would be pulling back into the profit zone. How far it pulls back is a big question. So that is our look at the markets today. Looks like we having a midst of a pullback in technology. They had gone a lot further than people had anticipated. So we'll see how this affects the indexes. This has been Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. If you ever have any financial questions, please let us know. We'd be happy to assist. Keep working on your goals and your activities. It'll bring you to the promised land and it'll surprise everybody around you. Glad you tuned in. Remember, it's up to you to do your own due diligence to find out what works for you. We share what works for us and what we're currently doing. If you want to follow along with us, you can certainly do that. But that is your choice. Have a great day. Have a great week. Finish the day strong tomorrow and Friday, and we'll catch up with you then. Until then, may the sun keep shining.